ده قال لي الصبح بعت ولادي على الشغل ورجعت بدي نام شوي.
He called me in the morning. I had sent my kids to work. He called me and said, Husun, my wife and kids are dead. I said, Abdullah, no, don't say it. Don't say it. I was in shock. That how could this happen to him?
That's one of the members of Alan Kurdi's family. He is, of course, the young boy whose lifeless body washed up on a Turkish beach in early September. Tonight, CBC's The Fifth Estate brings us a new development in the Kurdi story. It's one that galvanized the international community's response to the biggest refugee crisis since the Second World War. Gillian Findlay is co-host of The Fifth Estate. She joins me right here in studio. And Gillian, you spent some time in Turkey. You spent time with the Kurdi family. What's the news on them coming to Canada?
The fact they are indeed coming to Canada. November 10th, they got the official confirmation from the Canadian government. What happened is after the tragedy and after the reaction of the world to the tragedy, the previous government got in touch with the family and said, look, would you please reapply? We will reconsider your application again. And as I say, in 2.5 weeks ago, they got the answer that they will be coming.
That must have been an emotional answer to get as well. Just as we saw the emotion on, Alan Kurdi's aunt's face as she learned of those deaths. How is the family coping?
Well, they're coping, like many Syrian refugees are, day to day, hand to mouth. They are in Istanbul. Her husband is actually in a refugee center in Germany. They're separated. She has had a baby in his absence, and one of the scenes that we filmed for our documentary tonight is when they communicate by phone every day on the cell phone, and his only contact with that new baby is over the phone. They are, needless to say, very much looking forward to finally being reunited in Canada. They are hopeful nothing goes wrong. They don't have a date yet to travel, and they have another aunt in Port Coquitlam in BC that is actually sponsoring them and who is going to be putting them up, at least initially, in her house.
And I understand there was a surprise visitor, if you will, to the home. You had a chance to speak with him.
We did. Abdullah Kurdi, the father of little Alan, happened to be in Istanbul at the same time we were. We didn't know that. And so we did get to meet him and to talk with him, to talk to him about what happened that day, to talk to him about his feelings towards Canada. The family's application had been in process and had been rejected, and it was because of Canada's decision not to allow them to come to this country that they were trying to make their way to Germany, and that's why he and his family were on the boat that day. So we did speak to him. It was very touching, as you can imagine, and I guess the sort of heartwarming part of it was that he has now devoted his life to working with the children of other refugees. He's actually living in northern Iraq, and he is working in the camps, and he, as he said as plainly as he could to us, I've lost my family, but these people still have theirs, and I'm going to devote my life to trying to help them.
In the bigger picture, I mean, if you look at this family's struggle, in the midst of it all, the Paris attacks happened. Yes. How much of an impact did that have, do you think, on the refugee crisis?
I think we don't know for sure yet. I think there was a lot of noise afterwards. There was a lot of fear afterwards. There were a lot of politicians, I think, not so much in this country, but in others that were trying to capitalize on that fear. I think we have to wait and see what happens, how much policies really do change, how much countries, how many refugees countries do decide to take at the end of the day. I think it was a great, I think momentarily this family wondered, whether this might change their future. The Paris attacks happened 3 days after they got that email. But they have been reassured that they are coming, and I think they have faith in Canada that Canada will live up to its original commitments and the commitments of the new government.
And final question for you, what does Canada mean for the family?
I think now Canada means refuge. It's not their homeland. I think as any refugee that I have ever met, if you were to offer them a choice, come and have refuge here or be able to go back to your home and live safely, of course they would choose to go back to their home and live safely. But they realize now that that is not going to happen for a long time. And they have young children, and they have to figure out the future of those children. And so they feel very fortunate, I think, that they had this, this relative, this connection to Canada, that now they can exploit that and they can actually come and give their children a future. And so I think for them, Canada today means refuge and it means a future.
Thank you, Gillian. Gillian Findlay of CBC's The Fifth Estate. You can watch the interview with the father of Alan Kurdi on tonight's special. It's on The Fifth Estate. It's called Aftermath, How Paris Changed the World. It features elements from Gillian Findlay in Turkey, Mark Kelly in France, and Adrian Arsenault in Belgium. The show airs at 9 p.m. on CBC Television.